How many of you have been pining for high-speed rail in this country? How many of you have taken a bullet train in Japan or high-speed rail in Europe and said, well, I want this here? Well, I've got good news. It's closer than ever. Now, it still may not be fast enough for some, but it's coming. An announcement last week that the federal government's going to move forward with that first section of high-speed rail in this country in the Quebec City to Toronto corridor, and it will be from Montreal to Ottawa. That roughly 200-kilometer segment will serve as a kickoff for the high-speed rail project. Let's talk a little bit more about this with Martin Imbleau, the managing director of Alto. That's Canada's high-speed rail project. He's in studio. Martin, welcome to the show and welcome to our studios.
Thanks for having me.
So you can sense I'm excited. I've always wanted this. I think this corridor is prime for it. Obviously, I have some questions here. Tell me about why you think all of our listeners should be excited about this project.
Well, if you go to Toronto today, it takes you 6 hours if you drive.
Drive.
And 4 hours if you take the plane. 6 hours if you take the train. Costs
if
you
you're
a lot.
lucky.
If you're lucky, a reliability issue. If you go to Quebec City, you take your car. It takes you 3 hours. And our productivity and cost of living is such that commuting in the largest and the most heavily densified corridor is just a hassle in Canada. Last week, we saw the study of the congestion cost in Montreal and in Toronto, two of the worst cities in North America. Mm-hmm. So long story short, we need to commute fast, reliably, and have an efficient system. So basically, commute the way Europeans have been commuting for 40 years.
Okay, where will the stations be? So if I live in Montreal, what's the vision here? Do we know where the station will be, going to Ottawa, that stuff?
The vision for Montreal is to find the best location downtown. So the mandate is really to look at where we could position the station downtown. Where exactly? We're starting the process. We will be consulting with the population starting January, so 3-4 months of consultation. Mm-hmm. So we do have options for downtown Montreal. Then we need to reach Laval because there will be a stop in Laval.
Gotcha.
That does not mean that all the trains stop in Laval.
Yeah.
And then Ottawa, where we also have options in Ottawa for different stations.
So, one thing that's interesting, right? For high-speed rail, more stops is a problem, right? Because you want to be able to reach high speed. You want to be able to keep that high speed and not stopping every 2 seconds.
You want a very direct connection. So you don't want to go and have very steep curves, and you don't want to have too many stops. Yeah. When you have a few more stops, it doesn't mean that you need to stop there. You have express services like in Europe. We will have Montreal to Quebec after. We won't stop in Trois-Rivières for all the services. So that's why we could get to Ottawa in an hour or less with the express service.
Gotcha. Yes. Less than an hour. That sounds amazing. Now, let's talk about cost, because, we ask ourselves, well, why hasn't this been done before in Canada? I think the top of the list is, well, it's going to be too expensive. What has changed? Is it still going to be too expensive?
It is. It's not too expensive. It's expensive, but it's an investment. So let's say we use the current assumption of 60 to 90 billion. Then we'll look at what does it provide.
60 to 90 billion. Are you talking about the whole project?
The whole 1,000-kilometer network, Quebec to Toronto, 7 stations. It's going to take probably 10 years to build the whole thing. Yeah. So 60 to 90. It provides a GDP uptick of 25 to 35 billion. Mm-hmm. Then let's talk about people. Yeah. It avoids having 2 cars. It avoids students not having a second apartment. Mm-hmm. It avoids traveling and being late. So from a productivity standpoint and cost of living, it's a huge boost. Second, we will have 25 million passengers in 15 years. Well, we need infrastructure for those same passengers. Yeah. So we'll need more highway, more airport, more everything. They will cost tens of billions. So I like to say that we're not rich enough not to have it, actually.
Okay, so there, and the opportunity cost here, this is something that if we don't have it, it's going to be far costlier.
Well, I like the Spain model. They've built 3,000 kilometers of high-speed rail in 20 years, and a third of the people who are using it simply were not traveling at all. So think of the people in Montreal and Toronto who do not commute. Well, 30% of them could potentially be contributing more to the economy. That's a fantastic boost.
Montreal to Toronto, downtown to downtown. What is the vision on the time? How long it'll take?
The vision is downtown Montreal to downtown Toronto in 3 hours or less.
3 hours or less.
So the two downtown stations are different than, let's say, Trois-Rivières or Ottawa or Peterborough. So they're a bit more tricky. So we need to find a good location. So we're looking at options. And as I said, we need to go out and to listen to the users and the population. So the consultation that starts in January is fundamental, and the very, very precise alignment and specific location of the stations, we will have them defined by next fall.
We're with Martin Imbleau, the managing director of Alto, that's Canada's high-speed rail project. So my worry has been that Canada has become a country that can't get things done, okay? And I look at a project like this and I say, oh, there's going to be someone saying, a legal battle. Oh, you can't put that rail line through here. You can't do this. And we're going to get bogged down. Now, I know the federal government says, well, we've got a major projects office. Has this been deemed part of that? How do we ensure this actually happens in a time frame where it's not 40 years from now and we're still talking about it?
Yeah, good question. Well, I've been doing big projects all my life, and they're difficult. And linear projects are the toughest one because your reality changes every kilometer or so. But we're well born, and what frustrates me is that when we look at that type of infrastructure, we say, well, it's too big, too costly, we won't do it. And then we wake up 10 years after and say, we should have done it. Well, now is the time to do it. We should have done it 20 years, 30 years, and 40 years ago. It's not going to be easy. We need to start with a smaller section of 200 kilometers, develop, deploy, learn, make mistake, and then adapt. That's how we do big projects. We don't launch 1,000 kilometers. We launch 3 stations, 200, we'll put that into service, and as we build the first segment, we will start developing the rest of the corridor.
You start building this in 2029. Is that what that's the plan?
29, we'll see some mobilization activity and more meaningful construction activities in 2030.
This is like, why so long? Like like you just made this case.
Why so long?
Yeah,
it's we haven't consulted the population, so we don't know yet where we will go. So give me a year to define where we'll go. Then 2 years to do the engineering and get the permits. Then a year to sign contracts of tens of billions of dollars. I think it is very optimistic and aggressive.
You're saying this is lightning speed for Canada.
It is very fast. It's a big boost. When you have the Prime Minister say to the market, I want this in 29 and 30, the credibility of the projects goes from a scale of 1 to 10 to 3 to 9.9. So we're getting ready right now to start the construction.
Is it all government? Who's paying for this? Is it all government funding? Is there private sector investment? How is this working?
I like to use what the expert call it blended finance. So it's really a public infrastructure like a highway. But honestly, I don't believe that the public sector alone should be doing this because we need the innovation, we need the expertise, we need to change how we build things. So
you needed Air Canada not to block it, right? So they're part owner of this.
They are part owner of the consortium, which is fantastic. Air Canada, I think, is doing similarly to what they've done in Europe with airlines. But we have a private consortium that will invest in it. That does not mean that they will own the asset. Canada owns the asset, but we need the private sector to really follow that. They're named cadence, but they need to keep that beat so we can start construction and provide benefits to Canadians.
You're talking about things that have to be decided here, and obviously you got to figure out where to put the stations, and you'll do consultations on that. Hopefully, again, another example of how things can get bogged down in this country. I have a listener just saying, my goodness, 3 to 4 months to decide where to put a station. And they find it as like, this is an example.
Right. I used to call it the pipeline conundrum. When you go out and you consult the population without specific choices, they say, well, he doesn't know what he's talking. But then if you go out and you consult on very specific items, you say, well, they're not consulting. They have decided everything. So you're wrong in both cases. So we will do a consultation, and then in the fall, we'll present the precise alignment, because that type of infrastructure provides huge benefits to the community, but it has some local implication.
Any idea how much a ticket would cost?
One of the feature of my mandate that is written black on white is that it has to be affordable. The success of the project, of course, we need to minimize the cost to taxpayer, but it's the amount of people that gets in the train. We're targeting 25 million users by the mid of the century. Today, there's less than 4 million people who are taking the train in the corridor.
25 million users a year?
25 million users a year. But look at the amount of... It's 18 million people in the corridor in 10 years.
I wish you tons of success. Martin, come back real soon, okay? I expect further updates as this project
invite me, and
progresses.
I'll keep you and your listener in the loop, and I need all the support there is out there.
Let me know what you think about high-speed rail in this country. 514-790-0800 is our text line. That's Martin Imbleau, by the way, the managing director of Alto. Thanks, Martin.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.